On a distant and arid farm where the sun scorched the earth and the wind raised dust clouds that darkened the horizon, a donkey named Simon lived, a strong but tired donkey whose eyes reflected the sadness of a life marked by work and abuse. Mr. Ramon, his owner, a man as hard as stone, saw him only as a beast of burden. Day after day, Simon dragged heavy loads under an unforgiving sun, longing for a bit of fresh water and a kind caress. Hope, like a blade of grass in the desert, still shone in his heart.
A life of suffering.
Simon lived in a shelter made of old wood, barely able to protect him from the cold or the heat. His food was scarce, just a handful of dry grass that never satisfied his hunger. However, Simon was a noble and faithful donkey and accepted his fate with resignation. But time and constant work took their toll. His strength and health gradually faded away. One day, Mr. Ramon loaded him with a quantity of firewood that no animal could bear. As he climbed a hill, Simon, exhausted, stumbled and fell because he could no longer endure it. Mr. Ramon, without showing compassion, made a cruel decision to get rid of him. He loaded him into his truck and abandoned him in a desolate desert. He left him there, abandoned and injured. Simon tried to walk through the desert, but every step was torment under the heat of the day and the cold of the night. However, the instinct of survival pushed him to keep going, even if he could only take a few steps. Simon knew that if he didn't find water and food soon, his life would end in that desert. Exhausted, he looked up at the sky and asked, "Why, Lord? What have I done to deserve this?" Simon lamented with tears in his eyes. "I have always been a good donkey. I always obeyed. I always worked hard. Why have you abandoned me? Why do I have to live this misery?" He felt there was no answer for him, only the deep silence of the night. At that moment, Simon closed his eyes, wishing death would take him soon to end his suffering. The darkness of the desert had reached its peak when Simon, exhausted and filled with despair, heard a soft and comforting voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. With difficulty, he opened his eyes, covered in dust and sand, and saw a radiant figure approaching. The light emanating from it was warm, different from the cold light of the stars, and seemed to envelop the donkey in an invisible embrace, dissipating the night's chill and the fear in his heart. "Don't worry, donkey, I'm here," said the voice with a sweetness Simon had never heard. Despite the confusion and exhaustion, an overwhelming peace began to fill his being. "Who are you?" Simon asked, barely able to believe what he was seeing. The figure shone even more intensely, revealing its angelic form, a being of sublime beauty, with large, soft wings made of pure light. "I am a messenger of God, an angel sent to find you," the figure replied with a voice that sounded more like singing than speaking. "I have come to listen to you so you can share your suffering and your questions with me." Simon, feeling a mix of relief and sadness, began to tell the angel about his life on the farm, the abuse he had suffered, and the cruel fate that had led him to this desert. Every word was filled with bitterness from years of forced labor and solitude. He spoke of his accident, how his legs could no longer bear the heavy loads, and how, instead of receiving help, he was abandoned without compassion. "Why has this life been my fate? Why has God abandoned me?" asked Simon, with tears rolling down his dusty face. "I have been a good donkey. I have worked hard and never caused any trouble. Yet here I am, alone and hurt, with no one to help me." The angel listened in silence, its eyes filled with compassion. When Simon finished speaking, the angel leaned down and gently stroked his head with a hand that wasn't entirely physical, but conveyed a sense of comfort. "You are not alone, Simon," the angel said. "God has never abandoned you, though you may feel that way now. I will carry your words and questions to him, and I will return with his answer. You have my promise." With those words, the angel rose and vanished into the desert's darkness, leaving Simon wrapped in a renewed sense of hope. Despite his weakness, the donkey felt that maybe there was a reason for his suffering, a response that was about to come. The angel flew through the heavens, passing through stars and galaxies, until reaching the place where God's presence resides. Although the angel had witnessed countless miracles and heard the pleas of many creatures, Simon's pain and sincerity had deeply affected him. Upon arriving, he knelt and spoke humbly, "Lord, I have heard the lament of a donkey in the desert. Simon is a being who believes he has been forgotten by you. His heart is filled with sadness, and he wishes to know why his life has been full of suffering and solitude. What should I tell him?" God's infinite and compassionate light filled the space with his presence, and a voice, both soft and powerful, responded to the angel, "There is no creature I have created that I have abandoned. Tell Simon that, though his path has been hard, he has never been alone, not for a single moment. The suffering he has experienced is not a punishment, but a test of his strength and faith. Now he must learn to be grateful, even in the midst of adversity, that in every day, in every moment, his word should be, 'Thank God for everything.' This gratitude will be the key to transforming his life." The angel understood the depth of God's words, though he had initially expected a more tangible answer. He knew that it wasn't just the message itself that would transform Simon's life, but how he would receive it and apply it in his daily existence. With this new mission, the angel returned to the desert. When the angel returned, he found Simon exactly where he had left him. Although the donkey was still weak, he had survived the night. His heart filled with hope upon seeing the angel return. With a soft and comforting voice, the angel conveyed God's message. "Simon, God has not forgotten you. He hears your pleas and understands your suffering. But you must know that the key to changing your life lies in your own gratitude. From now on, in every situation, in every pain, in every moment of despair, you must say, 'Thank God for everything.' This simple act of faith will open the doors to a transformation you cannot even imagine." Simon, though still somewhat confused, nodded slowly. He didn't fully understand how gratitude could change his situation, but something in the way the angel said it gave him confidence. So from that day on, Simon began practicing what the angel had taught him. Every morning upon waking, despite his sore legs, he whispered, "Thank God for everything." When the desert sun made him feel weak, he repeated, "Thank God for everything." And when the night fell, before closing his eyes, he would again say, "Thank God for everything." At first, things didn't seem to change. Simon remained alone, still hurt, and his situation remained the same. But something inside him began to transform. Little by little, the donkey began to notice that his heart felt lighter, less burdened by sadness and resentment. He began to find peace in his solitude and an inner strength he didn't know he had. After several weeks of practicing gratitude, Simon noticed something strange near where he rested. A small green sprout began to emerge from the sandy ground. Although it was barely a small plant, Simon felt immense joy seeing it. As the days passed, the plant grew and began to provide shade. Near it, a small pond of water appeared. Simon drank from the clear water, feeling his body strengthen. His legs, once sore, began to heal. His coat, which had been dull, regained its natural shine. Simon couldn't believe what was happening, but he knew in his heart that it was the power of gratitude that was causing this miracle. No matter what happened, he continued to repeat his daily prayer, "Thank God for everything." With each word of thanks, he felt his life filled with new energy. Over time, other animals from the desert began to approach his oasis, drawn by the shade, the water, and the peace it offered. Simon, far from feeling jealous, welcomed them generously. He knew that the gratitude he had learned needed to be shared. Thus, Simon's oasis became a place of refuge and hope for many. The donkey, once sad and hurt, became a symbol of the strength that gratitude can give any living being. His story is a lesson about how gratitude can transform our lives, even in the darkest moments. Simon understood that gratitude was not just a word or a fleeting feeling, but a daily choice, a decision to see the good in every situation, no matter how difficult. Through gratitude, he found peace, hope, and a new life. The message of his story is clear. Although we can't always control what happens to us, we can choose how to respond. Gratitude is a powerful tool that allows us to find light in the darkness, strength in weakness, and peace in the storm. Thank you for joining us in this story. If you liked it, we invite you to give it a like and share it. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories full of reflection and hope. See you next time.